Hello and welcome to Business Edition with me, Yvonne Msemembo. Among the issues we're focusing on in this program is Tanzania Postal Bank. We'll meet the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Sabasaba Moshingi, as he talks about how the bank is trying to get more Tanzanians to save. In the Entrepreneur today, I have with me Joy Nyabongo. She's a business consultant. She's got wonderful stories to tell about how to solve various problems in your business. And in Brand Talk today, we meet SMV. I have with me the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Tanzania Postal Bank, Mr. Sabasaba Moshingi. This week is World Savings Bank Day, and it's the 90th celebrations. Just for the benefit of the viewers, how did this all come about, this World Savings Bank Day?
On 30th of October in 1924, in Milan, Italy, World Savings Bankers met, and they met for two purposes. Number one, to establish the Association of World Savings Bank, and during that meeting they agreed that every 30th of October of every year, that day must be dedicated as World Savings Bank Day. So that is how it started, and Tanzania Postal Bank, being a savings bank that is geared towards promoting savings bank in the public, has always been participating in coming up with multiple activities to celebrate World Savings Bank Day.
We understand that throughout this week you'll be holding several activities to encourage people to save. We know that that is a problem in Tanzania when it comes to saving. So what exactly have you prepared for Tanzanians to, encourage them into savings?
Saving culture in Tanzania is quite bad, and according to World Bank statistics, only about 10% of GDP is being saved, and I can assure you those numbers look so good because if you move around and you see, as bankers, we always hold the accounts of the majority of Tanzanians. We really have a big challenge. So because of that, and since we are actually a bank dedicated to address financial inclusion in Tanzania, we have come up with multiple activities to celebrate this week. Now, what are these activities? Activity number one, which we have been doing since the beginning of the month, has been to conduct multiple interviews in either radio stations, TVs, and the objective is actually to educate the public, one, the importance of savings, to give them some statistics about how poor we are in savings, and number three, probably to give them some ideas, how can they actually start doing the savings. And one important thing is, when this World Savings Bank Day was initiated, the then president of World Savings Bank said this. He said, the day savings started, that's the day the poverty is actually kicked out of the community. Secondly, we are also planning to visit multiple locations. One of them is actually schools. So the objective there is to encourage these young people to know the importance of saving, and if possible, encourage their parents to save for them. So that is the second activity that we are going to do. We are also planning to visit some military camps. We believe the military life really requires some kind of support in terms of telling them why it is necessary to save, and of course, on the process, we are also going to sell our products. The third thing that we're also planning to do, we have given some funds to our branches, 10 of them, and we are going to compete them. So they are coming up with multiple activities, and specifically the focus is really to visit the groups that have never had bank account before.
Why do you think it is so difficult for Tanzanians to save right now? Is it because when we take loans, loans, the high interest rates, it's also difficult. You spend most of your money repaying the loans, so it's difficult to save. Do you think that has contributed, or what else do you think has contributed to make it so difficult for them to save?
Tanzanians have been living in borrowed times, and we have always assumed things are easy, and that notion of socialist tendencies that we had after independence are still really pushing us hard. And we are very good spenders, and I think as we go along there will be really pressure really to save, because previously when me and you were growing up, we were sure we'll be able to go to secondary school whether our parents are rich or not. we were sure we'll go to the universities and be able to finish universities whether our parents are rich or poor, or they can afford or not. Things are changing now. Kindergarten education is terribly expensive than even universities. Primary or secondary education is getting really quite expensive, and universities, if you cannot get loan board funds, which is most of the time not coming on time, and number two, is not sufficient enough to cover for tuition and living expenses. Really, the demand to save for future becomes indeed very, very, very important. One guy, a matatu tout in Kenya, that guy, his income is like 300 to 500 Kenyan shillings per day, and he saves religiously a minimum of 100 to 200 shillings per day. Before he goes home, he must visit his branch, save that 200 shilling, and go back home. We were shocked with the balances we saw in that account. So it doesn't matter how much money you are earning. What is needed is that will and commitment to save. And if you look at what financial advisors are saying, it is not what you earn that makes you rich. Rather, it is what you save and invest that makes you rich. And therefore, Tanzanians, as we go along, I think, and specifically the middle class, who are your viewers, they need to consider savings as important. And you don't need to save a lot. 5%, 10%, 15%, depending on your income, 30%, depending on your income. Save, but have an idea. I save it in what form? Maybe a standing order. Every month I take 15-20% of my revenue, put it somewhere. After a year, I invest either in shares or in stocks or whatever.
I'm quite surprised to hear that you're saying that the middle class are the worst savers in Tanzania, from figures that, from most of the banks that you've seen. Why is that? It's amazing. You see people driving lavish cars, they've got wonderful looking houses and everything, and then you say, when you look at their accounts, it is shocking.
Absolutely correct, actually. Bankers, for example, the day the salary hits their accounts, and they are fairly well paid, the day the salary hits their account, they are fine. But go and check those accounts after 1 week. You will be shocked. This is the reality. So middle class is actually the biggest challenge. And I think this is because of the culture. We like driving good cars that actually seriously consumes fuel. And we also, once our income improves, we want to move into better neighborhood, so we pay fairly good rent, higher rent, because we benefit the landlords. And of course, also we take our kids to fairly good schools, which is necessary and very, very important. But really, we are poor savers. I'm a middle class myself, and I tell you, we are really struggling. And I want middle class who are listening to me today to take it seriously. Savings is important. Although there are nice available credit facilities, but those facilities are actually very expensive. And actually, in our markets where the rates are as high as 15, 16, 18, 20%, if you can actually be able to build those funds on your own without paying that, you would have saved 20% or 15% extra cost to you by just saving it. Instead of investing it today, you invest after 2 years, you would have saved maybe 40%. That is huge cost over your income. So this is the reality. Middle income, we have a big challenge. And guys, let's take saving seriously, and let's start today. 3 or 4 key
messages, or how should one start? How can I start saving? I get money, I get my salary, but what should I do to make sure that at the end of the month I keep a little bit of money in my savings account?
Yes, for those who have a bank account, it is just easy. Visit your banker, and I would recommend Tanzania Postal Bank, because we are the bank for savers. Visit your bank, open a second account called savings account. So your salary comes to your first account, and take a percentage that you are ready to forego comfortably without starving your family or finding yourself unable to come to the office. Then establish a standing order that every month when the salary comes, debit my account with either 50,000, 100,000, 100,000, 300, depending on your income, every month, and then religiously don't touch that money. Don't have an ATM card over that account, because if you have an ATM card, you know,
go and start pulling up money.
Yeah, it's so easy after you have had some few shots of grants, you can comfortably consider going to the next ATM. So don't have an ATM over it. And then have a plan. How do I, when after say 1 year or 2 years, what should I do with this money? You must invest it, because if you leave it there, most likely you are likely also to consider taking them, and something else could crop up that you spend that money for. So visit your branch and ask them to open a savings account, establish a standing order, and make sure that you don't have access to that account. And religiously don't touch that funds at all. That is number one. If you have no bank account, visit your banker. No, if you don't have a bank account, then you don't have a banker. So visit Tanzania Postal Bank. Open an account. If you are self-employed, every day or every month or every week, try to make a resolution to come and save your money.
And now, in Entrepreneur, today I have with me Joy Nyabongo. She's a business consultant, but she also writes books on customer care, how to solve problems in various businesses, and I'm sure you learn more as you hear from her. Just before we start talking about your books, okay, a little about consultancy as a consultant. What pushed you into that?
I discovered that there is a big information gap or knowledge gap, which I saw that I could be used as a solution to share whatever that I have in order to enhance the businesses that people do, at all levels, whether micro entrepreneur, small, medium entrepreneur, or even large entrepreneurs. So that's what pushed me. I felt that I have something to say. I have a solution, and that my experience could be shared out, to be used by many people, women and men. So that's what pushed me.
So how did you set it up to say, okay, this is going to be my life now? In order to get started, what did you need to do?
Every business, especially for consultants, gets created from nothing. Nothing.
So you don't need money or financing, whatever.
No.
It's just all up here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And it's so important for you, if you want to be a consultant, to do an investigation about yourself, a due diligence about yourself. Who are you? What have you gathered ever since you landed on this planet? Because there is no other you. You are unique. So it means that you have a unique thing to offer. That's very important. So I looked inside me to find what was the wealth of the things that I had encountered for a long time. And I saw that that could be aligned with people's problems. And then I said, look, I could use that and add value to the lives of others and to my world as well.
How did you get started, though? It's not just like one day you decided, okay, I think I'll start writing my books. What got you into that, though?
And inside every person is a book. A book, So how did I get started? I said, what is inside me that can get through my arms, from my brain, through my arms, fingers, onto my laptop? And what value does it have? And so I started writing that way, So I discovered that inside me is a book or books. By the way, every person can write a book.
When we look at the books that you've been writing, you started off with customer care, do's and don'ts, stories that engage the heart. Okay, that was your first book. What also so different about this from other books, thousands of books we've been reading on customer care? What is so unique about this that you thought, I've got a story to tell, and I think I'm telling it in a different way, and people will be able to make changes from this book?
These books comprise fictitious stories. Why fictitious stories? Because if you want to tell an adult, but even a child as well, a mistake that the child or that adult made in the office, especially when it comes to customer care, you may not want to be confrontational. Because, for example, if you're employing me and I am your secretary, and you call me every now and then and look at me wickedly and say, smile, smile. You even are telling me that when you're not smiling. Do you think I'll smile to your customers? Do you think I'll smile? The answer may be no. But if you get a story and tell me about someone else and how they benefited from that smile, I'll not feel that you're being confrontational. I'm likely to get that story to stick. And as a result, I'll process that story. And then I'll be able to say, so if Sarah in this story did not smile and this happened, how much of the consequences that Sarah experienced relate to me? And I may do that when you're not there even. So I found that these stories have touched people that uniquely. So I decided to use stories that way because I know with the message of customer care, you don't want to be confrontational because you could upset someone and that someone could upset your customer. So that's why.
When you're writing these books, are we looking at private companies? Are we looking at public institutions? And what are kind of issues that, have you come across that you thought, okay, I must put these down in the book? And I think by talking about these issues through these stories, we'll be able to see changes in these companies or in institutions.
Okay. Well, these particular books are aiming at executives, director generals, permanent secretaries, chief executives, directors, managers, people by virtue of the fact that they're leaders. They are even being paid to train others. Because one of the most important managerial functions for an executive is the ability to pass information. They hire you as a resource, a reservoir of information. So you are supposed to actually mentor people, bring them out. Now, these books focus on those kinds of people. And the issues that are comprised in these books are issues that in this market are kind of sensitive to communicate if you communicate them directly. For example, in this book, the first story that I wrote concerns hiring friends and relatives. And I wrote there that hiring friends and relatives can be a liability rather than an asset. Be careful. The story is called The International Breads and an Executive's Emotional Attachment. That's the story. And if you read the story as it is, you won't even guess that is what I'm talking about. So if an executive gets this story and gives it to the people that work with him, maybe the human resource manager and others, then it does not necessarily mean that the human resource manager has been hiring people that she or he is not supposed to hire. But maybe he or she does that. So they'll read that, and after that, in a management meeting situation or in a retreat situation, they'll discuss about this person in the story.
At the end of the day, what message would you like to leave our viewers, particularly those who are entrepreneurs, they're self-employed, and they want to become successful? Messages that you've written in your books. What particular message do you want to leave our viewers today?
Any successful entrepreneur must leave a legacy. That's very important. People would want to know, what are the steps that you took? Can you document them? Can you document them? Because just by the fact that you've started maybe a poultry unit, or you've started a tomato ketchup factory, means that there are steps that you took. So in as far as writing is concerned as a business, can you document them? document them, because out there every other day many people are being delivered, birthed at Muhimbili National Hospital and other hospitals. People are being born all the time. You may want to touch them. You may want to touch them. And when you do that, your name will never depart this planet. You see, they will always remember that you contributed a bit to who I am. So that's the message that I would want to leave to entrepreneurs that are interested in writing these kinds of books and other books. Touch your world by documenting what it is that you've experienced. Secondly, do not be money driven. Why? Because when you solve people's problems, money comes. Money comes. When you solve people's problems, money comes. So if you write just, okay, let me write so that I make money, I can almost guarantee you won't succeed. But if you write to solve problems, then money will come.
My name is Roy van der Drift. I work for SNV, Netherlands Development Organization. SNV is an almost 50-year-old Dutch-based, Netherlands-based development organization that is dedicated to strengthening the capacities of local organizations. I am currently employed as the program manager of the Opportunities for Youth Employment Project. OYE, nice acronym, youthful acronym. It is a project that is aimed at improving the livelihoods, the quality of life of rural youth, out-of-school youth in Tanzania, Mozambique and Rwanda. We implement this project in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation. That is a charity based in Canada, originally established by the MasterCard company. But it is an independent charity with whom we are privileged to partner to implement this project. We are benefiting from a $14.2 million budget that is provided by the MasterCard Foundation, that we will invest in skills development of 20,500 youth. That is our target. We hope we will be able to exceed it, of course. We are not doing this training out of the blue. It is not a classroom project. It is a market-based project. With markets we mean, or we are focusing on agriculture and renewable energy markets in rural areas. As SNV, we already operate in these markets. We know the industry, we know the processing companies, we know opportunities for young farmers, for young people who have the ambition to get employed in agriculture. In addition, and that is for us a new and very exciting thing, we do not just say, okay, here's the market, here's your opportunity. No. The first year, because we are 1 year underway in the implementation of this project, and we have become totally excited by the energy of young people, even in very remote rural areas where you would expect young people to be passive because of a lack of opportunity. There is energy in this youth. This is the biggest fuel for this project. So in addition to market opportunities, we provide certain skills, or we motivate, we invite rural youth to display their energy and their ambition to say, this is what we want to make out of these markets. Because young people want to do something different. We should not ask, is agriculture attractive for young people in the year 2014? No, the question is actually, youth are able to make agriculture attractive for themselves. Of course, we need to meet a number of conditions that enable them to display that energy and turn that energy into productivity and enterprise development. So that is the modest contribution that we want to give, working through local organizations, local trainers that do the actual work, and hopefully making use of this project will be able to continue this important work on the long run without needing SNV or the MasterCard Foundation.
Well, that's it from Business Edition. Until next week, same time, my name is Yvonne Msemebo saying goodbye.
Since 2000.